Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Keys of the Castle podcast. Today I'm going to talk about some of the park panel announcements from the D23 event that happened recently. There were some really huge announcements, so just wanted to talk about that. And there's some pretty big things in the works. I think last year was pretty lackluster for the most part. A lot of people were really, really disappointed. I actually didn't watch or see any of that last year for whatever reason. But I, heard the reviews, of course, and just all the updates and news and everything that came from it. And definitely there's a big difference between last year and this year. So I watched on YouTube a live stream playback. I was only like a couple hours late after the live stream had finished, I think. So that was from SoCal Haunts and Parks or something. Haunts and Parks SoCal. So that was really nice. I was really grateful for that. I think it cut off before the last big announcement, and maybe there were a couple of small things after that. I'm not too sure, but the vast majority of it was on that video, which I was really grateful for. I think I just saw clips here and there, Instagram from Disney or whatever, for the rest of the announcements. But yeah, it was really great. To be honest, it was actually my first time seeing an entire parks panel of D23. I would absolutely love to go to one. That would be incredible. I'd love to go to one maybe next year or the year after that. Who knows? I don't know, but I think that would be really, really cool. Anyway, I watched it. I enjoyed it. I got emotional at a couple of parts. So, let's jump into some of these announcements, and I'll come back to the emotional parts just for the sake of the drama and being dramatic. So there was a date announced for Tiana's Bayou Adventure at California Disneyland in Anaheim. So let me see what that is. I don't even know what the date is. Actually, I don't even have notes on that, but it's in November. I think early November. So early to mid-November, I think it was, of this year, obviously. So that's pretty cool. That's exciting. Hopefully, I'll be able to get on that this year. That would be great. That would be fantastic. That would be amazing. Just to get to ride it myself and see what it's like. Obviously, it's going to be no Splash Mountain. I already did an initial episode, I think two episodes, maybe just one big episode on Tiana's Bayou Adventure, and gave it my thoughts. I do need to retract some of the statements on there because I said the first screen that's used in the ride was really, really bad, and it's not that bad, but most of the rest of the episode is still accurate in terms of my own opinion. Anyway, let's get back to D23. That's announced. That's probably the smallest thing. There's a lot more to get to. Honestly, though, there's really, in terms of the U.S. parks, which is my main focus and really the main focus of this podcast channel, would maybe more so be the Disneyland in California. Definitely the U.S. parks. But of course, just any Disney park and any theme park and any aspect of travel and that sort of a thing, travel and destination and what not and what have yous. So, honestly, I'll jump into the Walt Disney World stuff first because I feel like that stuff is pretty exciting. Well, hang on. I think really, I'll just take it one at a time. So, I'm not going to talk about every single announcement. But let's start with actually let's go left field here. Let's go with the Paris announcement. So Disneyland Paris is getting something really crazy. So I think there's other announcements too, but kind of the craziest one is that they're getting a Lion King ride. So I think they're actually getting a Lion King land, which is kind of weird and unbelievable. Like I can't even really believe it. It's a little odd and strange to me, only because it's in Paris. Like, I don't know, just maybe experiencing Lion King and, the African savannah or whatever it's called, maybe experiencing that in Paris makes it even more cool. But I definitely feel like that would have made more sense at Animal Kingdom to have Lion King land and ride there. I think I had heard that Disneyland Paris wanted or they were promised a Splash Mountain sort of ride. So I think that's what I heard this is kind of going to be, is like like a log ride sort of a thing, basically similar to Splash Mountain. So that's really cool. I mean, I was thinking about it. I was like, does a log ride make sense for the Lion King and the Lion King movie? I think this ride is going to be, from what it sounds like, a kind of more of like a book report ride. So kind of just a ride based on the original Lion King movie. So yeah, the ride vehicle, like, does it make sense? Yeah, I think it does. I was thinking about it. I'm like, yeah, I don't think there's any other type of vehicle that could make sense for this ride. So the log, it's going to be great. It's going to be epic. It's going to be perfect. So I'm excited for that. It's kind of crazy. They're making a whole entire land, Lion King land. That's just mind blowing. I am all for rides and lands based off of classic, which I still consider. I know it's, some odd, 60 years, 40, 50, 60 years after maybe true classic movies like Snow White, Peter Pan and all that. But to me, this is still a classic Disney movie. So I'm all about lands and rides based off of these movies. So I think they need a proper dark ride or proper rides for Lion King, Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast. I know some of those have rides, and I know the Beauty and the Beast ride in the non-US park. I think it's Japan is meant to be really good, but definitely I feel like there can be some improvements and additions when it comes to adding those type of rides for that era of movies. I don't know if it's called the Disney Renaissance or but anyway, so that's that. Next big announcement is let's just take it to I'm gonna save maybe my favorite one for last. Let's take it to Disneyland. So this is gonna get juicy. Let's see, hopefully I don't have any audio glitches here. I'm going to try to open up some different notes just really quick. So a couple huge announcements for Disneyland. Number one that I will talk about, why is this not working? My notes are not working and it's very frustrating. Just 2 seconds here. So strange. Okay, so there's 1, 2, 3 big announcements I'll talk about for Disneyland. So number one, I guess it doesn't matter what order I go in, but So I'll start off with talking about, or just mentioning the Avatar land and Avatar attraction. I don't know if there's going to be one or two attractions. I think there's maybe only one at the moment that they're planning or have announced so far. So there's that. They announced that, I think, last year. So that is, I guess, old news. That's like rejuvenated news. So yeah, that's interesting. Maybe I'll come back to that. Actually, another piece which is pretty important is the expansion of Adventure's campus in California Adventure. So that's pretty insane that they're claiming that Avengers Campus is going to double in size and going to have not just the one that they announced last year, but 2 new rides, 2 new attractions. That's pretty insane. I'm assuming they're going to have to close down certain parts of California Adventure that are currently open. I don't think they're just going to be expanding out to like non-entertainment areas of the California Adventure Park property. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see about that. I know a big topic and a big rumor that's been going around the past just recent times has been, the Hollywood land or whatever in California Adventure being closed down or replaced or whatever. So that'll be interesting to see. So Avatar land coming to California Adventure or Disneyland. I think it's California Adventure. And then Avengers Campus coming to California. Well, Avengers Campus expansion, doubling in size, 2 new attractions. That happening. And then lastly in California Adventure is a Coco boat ride, which thematically that's going to go pretty well. I have my own thoughts on that too. But yeah, very interesting stuff. Overall, I think it's all fun and exciting stuff, and everyone's going to love it. And those are the main things. Let me actually once again see if I can double check my notes here, and just waiting for them to load up. So did I know? Oh, I am missing some notes here. Okay, so I'm not really going to talk about the Tropical Americas thing at Disney's Animal Kingdom. But that's going to include the Indiana Jones ride, which is insane. This is going to have to be a 2-part podcast, you guys. I don't think this is going to work out for the next talking about this all in just the next 10 minutes. But yeah, that's pretty crazy. They're going to have is it like a treehouse? I think it's going to be for Encanto. That sounds really, really fun and interesting. That sounds awesome. The Indiana Jones thing, whew, man, is that a touchy topic with me. I'm just going to be really bummed if they bring back some of the old effects from the original Indiana Jones and they just leave the current one at Disneyland broken. That's just going to really fire me up, and not in a good way. But I'll just leave that at that for now. Okay, so the next thing is I'll talk about I don't know if it's confirmed that this is the Beyond Thunder Mountain project that was announced last year. But basically at Walt Disney World in Florida at the Magic Kingdom, there's going to be an expansion in or around or whatever from Frontierland. And it's going to be split in 2 from what I'm gathering. It's kind of, I don't know, I guess now that I think about it, Disneyland, all the different lands within Disneyland, like Adventureland, Frontierland, I guess really just Adventureland and Frontierland. Like, those are pretty small lands, but I feel like that was so different when they opened, Disneyland is such an old park, so it's a little bit confusing, like, the fact that they're opening a bunch of different, like, mini lands. I don't know. I don't know if that's just me, but I just feel like, see, so I only have frame of reference for the California Disneyland, and, like, an example would be Toontown or Tomorrowland. Like, those lands are pretty big. Even New Orleans Square, like, they're such small, like, spaces. I just thought that was a Disneyland thing. Like, I'm so surprised that they're just generating all these, continuing to generate all these really small lands. So, to me, it's really, really, really cool that they're expanding Frontierland into Cars area, because you're kind of combining two into one. But, and I know that Star Wars Land is big in terms of acreage, but I don't know, it just feels like a bunch of empty space to me, which is not a bad thing, but there's only 2 attractions, and I don't know, maybe I just haven't been on busy enough days, but it just feels like a lot of open space, which again is not a bad thing. But anyway, there's the Cars Land sort of a space that's going to be an extension of Frontierland, which is going to have 2 new rides, which is awesome. And then the other portion of that expansion is going to be Villains Land, which is very interesting, and I think I talked about that on the last episode. So, yeah, 2 very crazy and interesting expansions, if you will, and topics and news happenings for Magic Kingdom and Walt Disney World and Disney. So, yeah, the villains thing, I talked about that on the last thing. Ideally, to me, in my own personal opinion, I think it would be cool for Disneyland to open up a completely new park. Doesn't matter what state, California, Florida, Texas, who cares, who knows. I think it would be really cool to build kind of an extreme Disneyland where it's still very, very, very much Disneyland, but like have it kind of more geared towards adults, almost like how California Adventure has been veering toward and into the past several years. Like, they serve alcohol there, and just the vibe of the park kind of has more of that vibe, especially if you're a local. You can tell that vibe much more. Like, when you go there and visit that park often, that's just the vibe. Like, it's kind of like the vibe of, where the locals go after work to get on some rides and have a couple drinks. Like, that's really the vibe of it. So, I don't know. I think an entire park dedicated to just a little bit more of an extreme or adult version of Disneyland. Nothing too crazy, but I think Villains Land would have made more sense in something like that. But hey, I'm sure they're going to make it work. As I always say, it's all about the execution. So that's that. The Cars thing, I think I'll come back to. And there's just 2 more things I'm going to mention here. So the last couple things, because just running out of time here. So the last one that I'm going to talk about for Florida is Monsters Inc. Land. Why is it called Monsters Inc. Land, though? Like, should it not automatically be called Monstropolis is coming to Disney Hollywood Studios? Like, what is going on? Why are we even wasting time calling it Monsters Inc. Land? Like, there's already a name for it. It's Monstropolis. Anyway, let me calm down for a second. So, Monstropolis, I'm just going to call it that in faith, Monstropolis is coming to Disney Hollywood Studios. Now, don't quote me on that. They might ruin the name and call it Monsters Inc. Land. But either way, a Monsters Inc. themed land is coming to Disney World at Hollywood Studios, which is freaking incredible. It's freaking awesome. I can't believe that they actually took this idea where, like, I mean, everybody, at least in my head, watches that movie and is like, the first time watching that movie, the first response is, and the first thought in your head is, that would be so cool if Disney made a ride where you're like flying on the rails, like, you know, on the doors. That would be so epic. And it's one of those things that, like, it's a thought that just, at least I thought that, maybe nobody else did, but I feel like we all did. But it's one of those thoughts that's like, it's so crazy it could and just would never happen. It's like you instantly get sad and you're like, that could never happen. It's not even physically possible, probably, but it's happening. That is so exciting, and I can't even remember the time frame. Okay, so construction begins next year, so I'm guessing if construction begins next year, which is 2025, honestly, I'm guessing it'll take them like a year or two. Maybe I'm being dramatic, but I feel like it's not going to be open, and maybe I'm just being a pessimist, but 2028 potentially. But hopefully maybe they'll like do like a mini launch where just like some of the land is open with one of the rides. That's what I would expect, since it's Disney and they want to, like, you know, please people with that, make people happy. That's what I would expect. So anyway, that's exciting. And yeah, that's honestly, I think that's the thing I'm most excited for when it comes to the Florida announcements from the D23 Expo, or not Expo, whatever. Yeah, I don't really care what it's called, but D23 Parks Panel News. And let's go ahead and move on to the last thing I want to talk about, which is the announcement of the Walt Disney audio animatronic at Disneyland, California. That is, I mean, there is something about that, you know, there's one small-ish, I don't know if it's small or big, but there's one thing that does bother me, but other than that, my overall feeling is that, like, basically that's one of the things that I got emotional over, because I just think it would be so cool to bring to life an attraction that is based off of, like, I'm just going to say it. So the same way that we have, you know, Monsters Inc. ride that we have in California Adventure, and a new Monsters Inc. ride that's coming, in the same way that we have, like, epic rides based off of movies, which I'm struggling to think of some off the top of my head, because most of the most amazing Disney rides are not IP based. But either way, like, basically, to me, in my head, this is going to be like an Imagineering, like, that's the IP, is the Imagineering documentary on Disney Plus. Like, this is basically going to be an Imagineering ride attraction. It's not a ride, but I don't know. I'm so excited for this. And I'm a little bit bummed that it has to be shared with the Abraham Lincoln attraction, just because, I don't know, I just don't think it makes sense. I think it's a way to phase out Abraham Lincoln. I think they're just phasing him out. I think that that's my guess, is that in, you know, 5 years-ish, 5 to 10 years at the most, 5 years at the most even, I'm going to say Abe Lincoln is going to be gone. It may even be shorter than that, but I think they're definitely phasing him out. And that really, really, really does bother me. But anyway, aside from that, I was emotional, and the production and performance was mostly good from what I saw at the Parks panel. event, so the Parks Panel show. So I saw, I think, 2.5 hours of it, and the most emotional part, production and show-wise, was the portion where they announced the Walt Disney animatronic and then went into and had kind of like the tribute to the Sherman Brothers. That was really, really emotional. Like, I pretty much choked up from that part when I don't know, I was like kind of parenting at the same time, so towards the end of the song I kind of zoned back in, or like focused back in on the video and what was happening there, and like it just really hit me. I think I just didn't really realize it was like also a double tribute, not just to Walt Disney but to the Sherman Brothers in terms of the show. Not that the attraction will be a tribute to them, but in terms of the show. So yeah, I got really emotional at that part. And honestly, the other part I actually really got emotional about was the Cars Land, which according to, I don't know, like what I'm hearing, like that kind of fell flat at the actual event itself, which to me that shouldn't mean anything. Like, just because the people at the event didn't cheer, like, who cares? Like, that should not be the standard. And I think that the Cars Land expansion is absolutely genius, because I don't think they should just keep chopping up the park and keep adding on these little random lands. I think it really takes away from the continuity of the entire theme of a park. So anyway, I'm excited for the Cars attraction. For whatever reason, I also got emotional when they announced the Cars attraction, like the main one. I think one of them's going to be like a much more tame ride, but the main one, like the racer one, like the rally racer one, off-roading one, I got really emotional. I think it was because my little baby was with me and on my lap and watching with me, and so I don't know, it was just this weird moment of like just a combination of excitement for like just the possibilities of Disney parks and rides and attractions, and the future of that, and just the possibilities of it, combined with like being excited for getting to experience these things with my as a father and as a parent. Like I don't know, just thinking like, my child is going to be old enough to ride this ride at some point, and at some point not too far off after construction. Like, even if it's a few years, it's like, I don't know, it's just cool. It was just a cool thing to look forward to. I don't know, it made sense apparently at the moment that it happened. But anyway, that is all the announcements and news that I wanted to talk about for today in regard to the D23 event. And yeah, it was really cool. Really enjoyed watching what I did. And there's, of course, more park announcements that I won't get into. Maybe I will, or maybe I won't do another episode on this. But either way, thanks for listening if you did. And that's going to do it for this one. So take care.